So like I promised, we're not here to learn hardware, software, but it's good to have a background information because at the end of the day, all we are going to do is we're going to be creating pieces of art. The way I write my code will be different from the way you write your code because there are so many ways to get to your destination. You might be going left, right, right. I might be going right, right, left, and we'll still get to that same destination. So that's why it's art, because when they ask you to paint a man, the way you paint a man is different from the way I'll paint a man. But at the end of the day, the man is going to have a head, eyes, hands, legs, and so on. So it's a sequence of instructions that you're giving that gets stored in a memory and gets executed in the CPU. All right, let's carry on from there. So why do we need to code then? Okay, we need to code because we want to get tasks done. We want to solve problems. Most of the time, people write code because they want to solve their problems, but then they realize that it's useful for others to also be able to solve problems in this way. If I know how to create a tire for a car, I just have to make that available for everybody else. Then they don't have to go and reinvent the wheel. Okay, so you produce solutions for yourselves based on a particular problem that you encountered, and those solutions get shared and it's available for everyone. So again, coding is because computers cannot learn our language, but we are smart enough to learn ones and zeros. Because at the end of the day, when we looked at, let me go up a little bit. When you look at this CPU, the CPU before, back in the days in the 60s and 70s, there used to be entire cabinets. Entire room of cabinets is what gives you the CPU. But why is that? Because it's pretty much the presence of electricity going through cables, through wires, gives you the 1, and the absence of electricity gives you the 0. So as time went by, these transistors, capacitors, and cables or wires got smaller and smaller. Guys figured out ways to make them smaller and smaller. All these Apple, Microsoft, Windows guys, that's what they did to be able to make sure that those computers that filled up entire rooms can now actually be in a cell phone. The cell phone does have exactly all of those because they figured out ways to merge millions and millions of transistors to tiny little chips. That's how we started out with Pentium, Pentium 1, Pentium 2, and so on and so forth. Now you have dual core, quad core, and so on. So their computers cannot learn our language, but we can learn how to write code, which will be translated to ones and zeros. Python is just one of the many programming languages out there. There are countless programming languages. But Python translates your code just like an interpreter. When you speak in your dialect, somebody changes it to English, or you speak in French, somebody changes it to Spanish. Python interpreter sits between what we are going to type and then translates it to ones and zeros for the computer to do it. Ones and zeros is what is known as machine language because a machine understands presence or absence of electricity. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, it does.
Awesome. So yeah, at the end of the day, that's what coding is. It's nothing more than that. Coding is just you sitting between me and your grammar so that when I speak in English, you can explain to your grammar in the dialect that this is what this person is saying. When your grammar speaks in a dialect, you can explain it to me that grammar says you're a very handsome boy, right? Except you guys don't think that, but I don't know. Anyway, but why do we choose Python? There are many, many features that Python has that makes us prefer to choose Python, okay? It's easy to write. When I say easy, it's literally easy to write, just like English language, okay? It's also easy to understand because if you see some codes out there, back in the days, assembly language, which is low-level code, and Python, which is high-level code, you can look at Python and have an understanding of what the code is trying to do. But before, when you see 100111100, you have no idea what's going on there. Okay, and when it's object-oriented, that means it relates to real-world scenarios. Just like you have a car is an object. You can say this car is of year 2020, it's of color red, it's of model coupe, and so on and so forth, brand, and all those different things. So there are countless features that Python has, okay? It's also very extensible, very portable, and scalable. You can integrate it in many places, and most importantly, it's free. Who doesn't like free stuff? It's free and open source, okay? So those are some of the reasons why we code and why we choose Python over many other programming languages. But what is Python? What exactly is Python? Is it a snake, or is it, I can tell you a lot of things about it, who discovered it, and all whatnot, but that is not of the essence right now. Anyone can read up on that. But a few things that we need to point out are that Python is a language of the Python interpreter. Like I said earlier, the Python interpreter is what sits between you and the CPU, that it actually goes about the translation and interpretation of the code to make sure that it becomes machine readable, okay? It has dynamic semantics. We'll talk more about this later on. Most other programming languages, when you want to write something in, you have to define every single thing you're writing, and it cannot change. It's static. So if you have static type, for instance, if I'm going to a bank to open an account, if this bank says once you open a savings account, you cannot change it from a savings account, that's what it's going to be. It's going to stay that way. So for instance, I go into the bank and I say I want to start saving stuff in the vault, and they'll ask me, what are you going to save? I'll say, I have some important documents that I like to save, maybe certificates and so on and so forth. And they say, okay, guess what? We're going to give you a drawer. You're going to save your certificates in a drawer. And then I come back tomorrow and I said, you know what? I'll also like to save, I found some, gold behind my yard. When I was digging up, I want to start saving my gold in there. They'll tell you, no, you cannot change this size because it's static. But with Python, it's dynamic. At that point in time, you can say, you know what? Rather than giving you this drawer, we're going to give you this room. You can go ahead and take the entire room, and save your stuff in there. So that's what it means by Python is dynamic. Okay, for some people, it might be good. For some, it might be a problem. OOP in here stands for object-oriented programming. Like I pointed out earlier, Python relates to real-world scenarios, objects. Okay, everything is an object in the world of Python. And in that way, objects have two things. Objects have attributes, what they have, and they have methods, what they can do. Okay, so what you have are attributes, what you can do are the methods. For instance, a car has attributes. A car has a color, a year, all those information. The car can also do stuff. The car can drive forward, it can reverse, it can honk the horn, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the things that Python has that makes it different. Now, it's a general purpose language and also high level. When you say high level, it means you don't really need to write your code in machine friendly way, because there's low level code, which is machine code, and then there is also middle level, and which is assembly code. Back in the days they had to write assembly language, but high level, you just write it in regular English or whichever word you want to use, and then it gets broken down using the interpreter to the low level language. Okay, it might be slower compared to machine language, because machine language does not need someone to translate, but it's a lot easier for humans to write, read, and do. Okay, so there are a lot of applications, as I listed earlier, in the world that you actually use Python for. The big one here is data analysis, as you can see, whether it's data science or it's databases or it's data analytics and so on and so forth, and also web development. Okay, DevOps is something that's growing very much. Systems admins, whether it's Linux systems or it's Microsoft, whichever system it is, and for automation. Okay, it could be home automation, it could be whichever type of automation. And you can use it to also scrape websites, be able to go out there and fetch information. For instance, machine learning, which is a superset of artificial intelligence, which is something that everyone nowadays is talking about, ChatGPT and so on and so forth, for educational purposes and so on and so forth. There are a bunch of uses for Python that it's very powerful for you to have this on your resume. You stand out, okay? And not just when you talk about Python. Now you understand the semantics, what's going on behind the scenes, the background of what Python is. Based on that, you have a better understanding. You can explain yourself, and you can have a better understanding of what your code is trying to do and what it cannot do. Does that make sense to everyone? I know a lot of talking. What questions do you have? Please go ahead and let me know. No questions? And if any questions come up, do well to raise your hand and I'll definitely address your questions. So that's it. We've been able to answer a few questions so far. Let's see what else we can answer.